Pets are some of the best things that can ever happen to you growing up. The strong bond between an animal and a human can be very happy and fulfilling. A pet also allows someone to understand the responsibilities of taking care of someone you love in the future, whether it's another pet or another human depending on how life goes for you. However, there are moments where you know someone is not ready for those types of responsibilities. That is certainly the case in this episode of Dramarama. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Blade, and this is a closer look at Cluckwork Orange. It's been a minute since we last visited the Dramarama daycare. I've been in and out watching the show, but so far, I'd say it has improved from the first episode. While it has its wild tendencies, it's more controlled and the interaction between the characters have been very fun to see. Although there are still a few hits and misses when it comes to the pacing and some of the reasonings for certain events. Other than that, it's been enjoyable from the episodes I've watched so far. One of them being this video's review called Cluckwork Orange. The episode begins with Zookeeper MacArthur milking a bear. Yeah, I don't know how. But okay, I guess this is going to be one of those episodes. I will mention I do like the cameos of MacArthur in the beginning of the episode. As a matter of fact, she makes these types of cameos throughout the entirety of the show where she works in different positions. It's something similar to what you would see with Larry on Gumball. It fits very well with how she is introduced on the Redonkulous race with her extremely high work ethic and effort. She's always been an enjoyment when she shows up in an episode, and it's no different here. After a silly sequence with Izzy, MacArthur then introduced the petting zoo for the kiddos that consists of a pig, spiders, a wolverine, a gator, and a chicken. This was certainly an odd group of animals to put together in a petting zoo. Then again, it is also very interesting as well. It most certainly kept my interest with not having the usual petting zoo choices, like the goats or your doggos. While they are still adorable, it's the same old jazz, so I'm glad Dramarama gave us a unique petting zoo experience. Like, who doesn't want to get wrapped up in a cocoon or crawl into a gator's mouth? So as we see the children hang with these animal friends, everyone gets along nicely. All except for the chicken, who has been mean to Owen by pecking his hand repeatedly when he tried to pet it. However, when Jude goes up to meet with the chicken felt attached to him because he looks similar to his own kind. I'm not sure whether it's because the chicken is feeling motherly towards Jude, or it's a different kind of attraction I'd rather not think about. Anyways, as the play dates with the animals came to an end, Jude was ready to say goodbye to his new chicken friend, but the chicken didn't want it to be a goodbye. As the animals and kids went their separate ways, we get a nice little funny bit as both supervisors tell their respective groups,
"Now everybody go wash your hands extra well before lunch, because animals are dirty, dirty creatures."
Now everybody wash up extra well before we leave, because children are dirty, dirty creatures.
Cody was the last one to arrive inside, sucking his thumb. Chef immediately tells him to stop that, considering he was just petting a wolverine. We zoom in on Cody's bod and see the wolverine germs take out Cody's immune system, which started the process of Cody becoming wild. As we can see, there are two developing arcs being made out of the encounters of the kids and the animals. The first, which is obviously the main arc considering the title, is the relationship between the chicken and Jude developing, where the chicken may be too attached to its new friend, while the second will be focused on Cody getting in touch with his animalistic side. Even with both being in the beginning stages, I could say there's a bit of a callback for the chicken in Pacatail Island, who is just as mental, proving that total drama chickens can be extremely violent. No wonder Tyler is afraid of them. As the kids went on to eat, the chicken found its way into Jude's lunch bag, and they decided to put the chicken in a disguise, which is just the chicken wearing Jude's clothes. We then get a confessional of Jude admitting that he never had a pet before, but he feels prepared to taking on the responsibility with the overly attached animal, which would end as great as you would think. Jude decided to name the chicken Nugget. The duo spend the rest of the day hanging around as Chef gets weirded from seeing the chicken at first, then Jude shortly after. It made him believe that he is seeing visions that's telling him that he is afraid of commitment. So he called a woman to finally buy that tuba. Yeah, for me, this was one of the flatter scenes in this episode. It was screaming filler throughout it. A lot of the sequences seemed pretty basic, from the skateboard to the slide. The most interesting one was the toilet, and that was when Nugget had a disappearing act, but really it hid in the toilet with Jude, which is a bit weird. I think they could have used Chef in a different way, maybe doing a bit of an interrogation of Jude when he thought he saw Nugget for the first time or something similar to that. We cut to a confessional of Cody telling Izzy that he's feeling pretty weird and he coughed up a hairball. Izzy then tells him that he's turning into a werewolf, and Cody proceeds to scratch his ear like a dog. Are we really doing this? Just letting you know, this is the third episode of this series and we're already having a huge pandering to furries. First the cocooning, then vor, now transformation? My goodness. At least with Cody transforming, it's a bit subtler with how it's usually done, considering he's 4. Then we see Courtney organizing her lunch. Nugget started to show his more aggressive side by stealing her food and poured juice all over her. Great. I'm keeping that in. By stealing her food and poured juice all over her. When Courtney confronts Jude about his chicken, he put the blame on Courtney instead of seeing the obvious, showing some of the most annoying type of pet owners, blaming the individual that was being harassed by the animal instead of controlling the pet. In this case, it shows how oblivious Jude is to the situation and is not being authoritative to his chicken, which made Courtney furious at him. We get a quick shot of Cody taking a nap, who ended up completing his werewolf transformation, which is... I feel like at this point I started to realize that the werewolf Cody isn't as deep as I originally perceived. We start seeing Nugget continue his mayhem against Harold, Izzy, and Owen, which honestly have been the more creative encounters, especially when it came to Harold's interaction with the chicken. Having a more Godzilla-like experience of Nugget trashing the town he built out of Legos, then proceed to beat the crap out of him ninja style. While for Izzy and Owen's experience with Nugget, it ended in a creepier approach with the chicken taking Owen's place before taking out Izzy. Even after all that, Jude refuses to see the chicken's evil intentions. However, it took when to see Bridget getting absolutely bodied by Nugget with nunchucks and egg. Man, this chicken has to be related to the one from Pack 2, cause this thing is freaking mental. However, due to these actions, Jude finally sees Nugget for what it really is. So, he took it upon himself to get the chicken out of the daycare for good. And the way he wants to do it is by letting the chicken fly to freedom. Only one problem. Chickens don't fly! Everyone in the daycare knows that, except for Jude, because of course he doesn't. Not only that, the kids were really letting him drop Nugget to its death. I get it. The chicken is insane, but do you really want to let the chicken just die because you don't want to spoil the moment for Jude? This is why kids this age shouldn't be left alone with animals. When Jude dropped the chicken, it was saved miraculously by that weird cloth-like hood on a car that made him bounce back up to the roof. Nugget was charging at Jude to take him out, but was stopped by Were Cody. Best name that I could think of, okay? And, well... Rip Nugget. As the kids went back inside, Courtney took the diligence to tell Jude the lesson of the story.
You can't keep a violent wild animal in a daycare. You can't? Harish is in! Hide in here!
And that's how the episode ends. The gator flying into Chef's office and mauling him. Yeah, this was a very weird episode, but it was still an enjoyable one to watch. MacArthur's role as a zookeeper was genuinely fun to see in the beginning of the episode, and her small chemistry with Chef was nice. Plus, the sequences of Nugget torturing the other children was done very well. However, I will say the episode really missed out an opportunity with fleshing out Cody's transformation. Instead of it being a minor storyline like I thought it would be in the beginning, It was only used as a deus ex machina tool to take care of the chicken. It was a huge disappointment. Plus, there were times where I felt Jude was being extremely ignorant with the situation with all of these half-baked excuses. While it's not as good as Bad Guy Busters, I would say that this episode was a much more enjoyable watch than Ventala. It's a decent episode overall, and it was still fun when it can be. Shout out to these patrons. If you would like a shout out, go to patreon.com/jbreviews and only pay $3 to receive one for this month. If you want to see more Total Drama content, click on the videos to the left. If you want the latest from me, click the subscribe and bell icons. Until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.